right, it is 23 minutes before 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this 26th day of December 2013. It's time for Robin and I to deliver the news to you. We take the news from around the world during this segment called News Bites, and we shorten it, we abbreviate it, we cut to the chase, get to the point, give you an opportunity to hear as much news in a short period of time as possible. It gives us an opportunity to put news back into News Talk, and typically in the course of this segment, we squeeze in 20 to 25 stories. We'll see how we do today at the end. Robin usually keeps the numbers there. Also, we will give you the information so that you can look up the story. In other words, we'll tell you which agency we got the news from. Then you can go on your computers, your tablets, whatever it is you're using, perhaps a brand new one that you got yesterday, and look up the story and read the details. But we will give you the gist, the surface, the thumbnail sketch, if you will. All right, the first one has to do with some of those homes and businesses that had the electricity interrupted because of weather. Some homes and businesses from Maine to Michigan and even into Canada that have been without electricity since last weekend's ice may not get their power back for another day or longer. Utilities in Michigan reported 105,000 customers without power Friday morning, while those in Maine reported more than 36,000, and Canada more than 101,000. Bangor Hydroelectric in Maine is advising people that it will be the end of the day before its more than 11,000 customers are back online. The number has fluctuated as some people get power back while others lose it. The utility said downed trees are the biggest problem facing line crews. Central Maine Power, with more than 24,000 customers still in the dark early this morning, helped to get power back from most by the end of yesterday, but acknowledged that some still will be without power at least until tomorrow. More than 100,000 more were without power at the storm's peak. And back in Maine, I guess Maine and Michigan, not till tomorrow for many of those people. So they went through their Christmas holiday without electricity.
Oh. Well, the search is on for a missing puppy after Grinches burglarized a Tampa home. Melody Russell arrived at her house in Tampa this week to discover that her home was burglarized. All her Christmas gifts were taken, and the new family puppy was gone. Her house was completely ransacked, and even the Christmas gifts she had bought for her children, Marcus, age 5, and Marissa, age 7, were stolen. Police responded to her calls, but all that remained was leftover wrapping paper. Lieutenant Yvette Flynn of Tampa Police Department told ABC News. But nothing hurt worse than when Russell found out her children's puppy, Honey, only 12 weeks old, was missing. Russell filed out a police report and listed the items that were stolen, including the Christmas gifts. That's when Tampa Police Department Patrol Squad 204 stepped in. The officers and dispatch workers decided to pool their money, contributing whatever money that they had in their pockets. The dispatchers went out during their breaks Monday evening and bought the toys that had been taken from the family. It was close to midnight by the time the officers returned to Russell's home. In the meantime, the Tampa Police Department has spread the word of the missing dog on its Facebook page and through media outlets. Lieutenant Flynn confirmed the search was still ongoing for Honey, and officers will continue to patrol the neighborhood searching for the dog. Wow.
The next story is one I hate to read. It's from the Associated Press. A New Hampshire volunteer firefighter arrived at the scene of a deadly car crash only to realize that his daughter was the victim. 30-year-old Katie Hamilton of Brookline was killed in the accident around 9 a.m. Christmas Eve Day at the intersection of routes 13 and 130. The mother of 3 young daughters worked as a plumber for her father, Steve Whitcomb's business. Brookline Police Sergeant Douglas Barnett says Hamilton was southbound on Route 13 preparing to turn left when a truck driven by 31-year-old Greg Cullen of Milford hit the rear of her car and sent it into the northbound lane. She was then broadsided by another vehicle, a Ford F-250 pickup truck driven by 37-year-old James Ciprati of Weir. Neither of the two men was injured. The 37-year-old? No. The woman, I can't remember how old the woman was. The 30-year-old woman died. She was the daughter of the firefighter that responded to the scene. Just hate that story.
Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood is declared a terrorist group. This group, whose candidate Mohamed Morsi won the presidential poll last year before being deposed by the military, had already been outlawed. Thousands of its supporters have been arrested in a crackdown A Muslim Brotherhood leader in exile vowed that protests would continue. Deputy Prime Minister Hassam al-Issa announced the move, which will give the authorities more power to crack down on the Brotherhood. He said that those who belong to the group, financed it, or promoted its activities would face punishment, reported by the BBC.
And this is from ABC News. Jesse Jackson has decided to weigh in on the inflammatory comments that Phil Robertson made to GQ magazine about gays and African Americans. In an interview with Drew Magari, the Duck Dynasty star said the Nazis needed Jesus, that he never saw the mistreatment of African Americans while growing up in Louisiana before the Civil Rights era, and that homosexuality was a sin. A&E has already suspended Robertson, but Reverend Jackson, his Rainbow Push Coalition, and GLAAD are demanding to meet with network executives along with Cracker Barrel's CEO to discuss the future of all Duck Dynasty memorabilia or content.
This is a story out of Tallahassee, reported by the Florida News Network. Attorney General Pam Bondi and Office of Financial Regulation Commissioner Drew Breakspear filed suit this week against online consumer finance companies Western Sky Financial, Cash Call, related companies, and their owner, John Paul Redham. That's according to a release from Bondi's office. The suit alleges that the companies charged interest rates ranging from 95% to 169%, and annual percentage rates from 139.13% to 331.38% to more than 6,000 Florida borrowers. It is alleged that Western Sky charges high origination fees for small dollar loans, which results in higher annual percentage rates. These interest rates far exceed what is allowed under Florida law. The lawsuit asks the court to cancel the illegal loans, order refunds for consumers, and ban the defendants from collecting on the loans and making any future illegal loans to Florida's consumers.
This next story is from the Associated Press. Police in Melbourne, Florida, have been issuing scratch-off lottery tickets instead of speeding tickets to some Christmas Day travelers. By early yesterday afternoon, Melbourne police officers had handed out 30 lottery tickets along with warnings to drivers caught speeding or violating other traffic laws. Sergeant Jamie Roque was quoted by Florida Today newspaper as saying that officers bought the lottery tickets with their own money to spread a bit of holiday cheer while ensuring public safety. Roque says the officers have gotten a lot of surprised looks.
An 8-year-old Pennsylvania girl whose courageous fight with leukemia drew support from across the country, including thousands of Christmas carolers outside her home last Saturday, died early Christmas morning. Delaney Laney Brown's family posted this message on her Facebook page Christmas Day. This is a quote: "My heart breaks right now. Our little angel on earth earned her pink glittery angel wings in heaven. She took her last breath at home in her bed at 3:10, surrounded by all her family and friends. I miss her so much already." Laney was diagnosed in May with a rare form of leukemia, and recently, after doctors had given her days to live, she made a wish for her neighbors to lift their voices in holiday songs. On Saturday evening, 6,000 to 8,000 people gathered outside her home in West Reading, Pennsylvania, singing holiday favorites such as Frosty the Snowman and Jingle Bells. Laney was too sick to come to the window, but she heard the voices, and her family posted a picture on Facebook showing Laney giving 2 thumbs up with the text, "I can hear you now. I love you." In addition to the carolers, Laney had also wished to meet pop star and Pennsylvania native Taylor Swift. Last Friday night, as her family celebrated her 8th birthday, Laney's wish was granted when the two had a video chat.
President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama thanked U.S. troops for their service and emphasized serving others in their annual Christmas greeting released yesterday. The president also noted the reduced troop levels in Iraq and Afghanistan when he said, "For many of our troops and newest veterans, this might be the first time in years that they've been with their families on Christmas. In fact, with the Iraq war over and the transition in Afghanistan, fewer of our men and women in uniform are deployed in harm's way than at any time in the last decade. That was a quote from the president, and I got the story from Fox News.
In a move likely to spark Palestinian anger and international condemnation, Israel intends to announce plans for construction beyond the Green Line next week, soon after the release of another group of Palestinian prisoners, government officials are quoted as saying Wednesday night. The officials would not say where the planned building would take place or how many units would be involved. Under the agreements Israel reached with the U.S. and the Pakistani Authority in July, which enabled the current round of negotiations, the government is scheduled to release a third batch of 26 Palestinian terrorists who were convicted of attacks before the 1993 Oslo Accords. Israel has agreed to release a total of 104 prisoners by the end of the 9-month negotiating period and has already freed half that number, reported by the Jerusalem Post.
This next story from CNN, Santa Claus was not the only one racing against the clock to get packages to homes by Tuesday night. UPS was also doing the same thing, but the company's backlog left some Americans with gifts missing from under the Christmas tree. Wednesday morning, we're terribly sorry, spokeswoman Natalie Black told reporters. In a statement, the company explained that the volume of air packages in the system exceeded the capacity of our network immediately preceding Christmas, so many shipments were delayed. We know how hard it is for everyone to receive their holiday packages, and we're working around the clock to resolve the issue. Behind the scenes, perhaps, the UPS stuck to its plan to make no deliveries on Christmas, angering some customers. Again, that was from CNN.
Pope Francis has used his first Christmas Day address to urge access for humanitarian aid in Syria. He told thousands of pilgrims in St. Peter's Square in the Vatican to pray for a peaceful end to violence in Syria and other conflict zones. The Argentine Pope also said tragic incidents involving migrants trying to reach Europe should not be repeated. Christians around the world are celebrating Christmas, which marks the birth of Jesus Christ in Bethlehem. As he spoke from the balcony at St. Peter's, Pope Francis kept largely to his prepared script, but he did make one significant departure from the words on the paper in front of him. It came when he reached out on this Christmas Day to non-believers, to atheists. He called on them to join with people of faith in the pursuit of peace and a better world. This is the Pope's quote, "Let us all unite with prayer or with desire, but everyone for peace," reported by the BBC.
And this story from ABC, Iran's top leaders sent Christmas greetings on social media yesterday, reaching out via unprecedented tweets from the Islamic Republic, including one message directed at Pope Francis. Felicitations to Pontifex on birthday of Christ is what the message said. Prophet of love, mercy, and friendship. That was a quote from the Iranian president, Hassan Rouhani, in a tweet on Twitter referring to the Pope's Twitter account, which is at Pontifex, F-E-X, Pontifex. Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, or maybe Khamenei, who has final word in state matters, praised Jesus Christ in a series of tweets and a Facebook posts. Adherents of Islam, Iran's official state religion, consider Jesus Christ a prophet. The Iranian leader's comments follow a similar interfaith outreach around the time of the Jewish New Year in September, when Rouhani used Twitter to wish all Jews, especially Iranian Jews, a blessed Rosh Hashanah. The tweets, dismissed by critics of the Iranian regime as a less than genuine public relations move, turned heads because of long-standing criticism over the Iranian government's treatment of religious minorities within its borders. The Iranian state follows a hard-line brand of Shia Islam. Religious minorities in Iran, which include Christians, Jews, Zoroastrians, Sunni Muslims, and Baha'i, face restrictions in education, employment, politics, and government, as well as the military.
Breastfeeding's benefits have been backed by yet another study, the latest finding children who were breastfed for more than 6 months scored the highest on cognitive, language, and motor development tests as a toddler. Earlier research tied breastfeeding to better thinking and memory skills, but how it's related to language skills and movement and coordination had been less clear. The new study out of Greece doesn't prove breastfeeding is responsible for better development, but it does show a strong association. children. Most evidence pretty clearly shows that there are significant medical benefits of breastfeeding. This is a quote from Dr. Dimitri Christakis, professor of pediatrics at the University of Washington and director of the Center for Child Health, Behavior, and Development at Seattle Children's Research Institute, reported by CBS.
57 people spent Christmas Day aboard a cruise ship that was stuck in the ice in a remote region off the coast of Antarctica, and rescue vessels are at least 2 days away, according to ABC News. The Russian-operated Academic Shlokatsky, I'm probably saying that wrong, an ice-strengthened vessel built in 1984 for oceanographic research, became stuck in the ice about 1,500 nautical miles from Hobart, Tasmania, and issued a satellite distress call early yesterday morning. We've been in touch with the master of the vessel, who says they are beset by ice, according to a spokesperson. Passengers are believed to have enough provisions to wait out the rescue. One passenger tweeted that all on board were fine and that their spirits were high.
A world-famous symbol of democracy is going undercover as workers start a 2-year, $60 million renovation of the U.S. Capitol dome. Curved rows of scaffolds like Saturn's rings will encircle it next spring, enabling contractors to strip multiple layers of paint and repair more than 1,000 cracks and broken pieces. The dome will remain illuminated at night and partly visible through the scaffolding and paint-capturing cloths. But the Washington icon and portions of the rotunda's painted ceiling that lies below will be significantly obscured for many months. The project is beginning just as the nearby Washington Monument shed scaffolding that was used to repair damage from a 2011 earthquake, reported by the Las Vegas Sun.
And the next story is from also the Las Vegas Sun. Not far from where the Boston Massacre helped sow the seeds for the Revolutionary War, David Dyer points toward the underpass where he'd score crack cocaine by day and the train depot where he'd sleep some nights. Now he has a family, a home, and a job, helping homeless veterans get off the streets like he did. Dyer is part of a team of veterans, some formerly homeless themselves, that the state of Massachusetts has hired to get veterans off the streets in the Boston area. Typically, they spend 1 day a week roaming the city's storefronts, alleys, and shelters, which is what he was doing one recent morning outside of Boston's South Station. Again, from the Las Vegas Sun.
A former college student who was detained for several hours at an airport after he was found carrying Arabic language flashcards had his bid to sue federal agents rejected by a federal appeals court. Nicholas George sought to sue 3 Transportation Security Administration agents and 2 FBI agents over the August 2009 stop at Philadelphia International Airport, saying that they violated his free speech rights and conducted an improper search and arrest based on the flashcards and a book critical of American policy in the Middle East, reported by the Washington Times.
And the next story from the Associated Press: a spate of violent Palestinian attacks on Israeli targets in recent weeks is raising concerns in Israel that it may be on the verge of a new type of Palestinian uprising. In contrast to previous waves of Palestinian violence, the recent incidents do not appear to be an organized effort by militant groups, but rather a collection of individual acts. Their rogue nature has made it difficult for Israeli leaders to respond or even identify their exact cause. After years of relative quiet, Israel's Shin Bet security service has reported a steady rise in attacks since Israeli and Palestinian peace negotiators resumed peace talks in July. In November, for instance, there were 167 attacks in Jerusalem and the West Bank compared to 136 in October, according to the agency.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has sided with the finance ministry on growth in the state budget. Netanyahu decided to adopt the changes that the ministry proposed in the formula governing public spending growth, with the aim of sharply curbing that growth. As a result, the state budget in the coming years will grow at a rate of 2.5 to 2.6% only. The growth rate would have been 4% under the existing formula. Until 2010, public spending grew in line with the rate of growth of the population. That year, however, the Finance Ministry, the Bank of Israel, and the National Economic Council decided that the rate of growth of government services had to be in line with economic growth, but that it also needed to accord with the falling rate of public debt to GDP, reported by the Jerusalem Post.
This is from CNN. It seems that McDonald's has finally realized how tone deaf its internal employee resource website was. It has shut it down. The final straw was a tip on the site to employees to avoid McDonald's fare. A graphic on the site shows a meal with a cheeseburger, fries, and drink under the caption "Unhealthy Choice." Next to it is a picture of a sub, a salad, and water under the caption "Healthier Choice." The latest embarrassment is among a string that's cropped up since McResource Line website went live. A McResource budget planning guide for its employees was ridiculed in July for being out of touch.
BAE Systems has secured a $1 billion contract to upgrade South Korea's fleet of F-16 fighter jets in a fillip for the UK arms manufacturer after it lost out on a much more lucrative deal with the United Arab Emirates. However, there will be no direct benefit for BAE workers in Britain, where the company employs 34,000 people. BAE said it would hire 300 people at its plant in Fort Worth, Texas, to install new cockpit electronic systems after getting the green light from Korea and the United States government, which licenses the sale of the aircraft, reported by The Guardian.
And the next story from the Associated Press: fighting persisted in parts of South Sudan's oil-producing region as African leaders this morning tried to advance peace talks between the country's president and the political rivals he accuses of attempting a coup that the government insists sparked violence threatening to destroy the world's newest country. Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta and Ethiopian Prime Minister, I'll just say the Ethiopian Prime Minister, whose name I can't pronounce, met with South Sudanese President Salva Kiir this morning. A senior government official warned that Riek Machar, the former vice president who now allegedly commands renegade forces in the states of Unity and Upper Nile, had to renounce rebellion before the government could negotiate with him. Michael Makui Luth, South Sudan's information minister, said the government has not yet established formal contact with Machar.
Mailing a letter is about to get a little bit more expensive. Regulators approved a temporary price hike of 3 cents for a first-class stamp, bringing the charge to 49 cents a letter in an effort to help the Postal Service recover from severe mail decreases brought on by the 2008 economic downturn. Many consumers will not feel the price increase immediately. Forever stamps, good for first-class postage, whatever the future rate, can be purchased at the lower price until the new rate is effective January the 26th. The higher rate will last no more than 2 years, allowing the Postal Service to recoup $2.8 billion in losses. By a 2-to-1 vote, the Independent Postal Regulatory Commission rejected a request to make the price hike permanent, though inflation over the next 24 months may make it so, reported by CBS News.
All right, that's all the time we have for News Bites. It's our opportunity to get news back into News Talk, your opportunity to hear as many stories as possible in a short period of time and catch up on what's going on around the world. You can look up the stories in detail if you want to know more, simply by going to the resource that we tell you about during the course of that. If you'd like to advertise on that segment or any segment heard on WOCA, it's pretty simple. You come in here, you talk to one of the sales executives, and they'll show you how it's done, how we can send business through your door by having us announce your business on these airwaves. The number here is 732-8000, and remember, we're located in the Paddock Mall, just outside of the food court. Robin, how many stories did we get there today?
25.
25, not bad.
Yep.
All right, we'll take a little break, and Veterans News with Hank Whittier is coming up right now.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
ABC News Now. I'm Karen Chase. It's a 6th day in the cold and dark for over 100,000 people from Michigan to Maine. The lingering